Today we are going to cover lesson 4.1, graphing equations in slope-intercept form. So I know a lot of you know this form because every time I've asked you for slope, this is what you've given me. So hopefully you're ready for this today. So slope-intercept form is a way we write an equation, okay? And that form specifically is y equals mx plus b. M represents your slope and b represents the y-intercept. So if you remember last chapter, we talked about the y-intercept. That's where the graph crosses the y-axis. You guys can see here. And m is your slope. Remember, that's our rise over our run. Okay? So we are going to use that information to help write equations today. And then also, if they give us the equation, how can I use that same information to graph my line? Which some of you, again, were doing this before. So in our equations, we are always going to have an x and a y. So when you write your final answer, you're going to have y equals a number times x plus or minus another number, okay? So for our first example, it says write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form with a slope of 1/4 and a y-intercept of -6. So as soon as I see slope-intercept form, I'm writing y equals mx plus b. And then I'm going to say, okay, my m is what? My b is what? Because those are the two pieces of information we need to write our equation in this form. So reading the directions, they told us the slope is 1/4. Great, that's done. B, that means that's my y-intercept. That's -6. Perfect, we have both things. So my equation is y equals 1/4 x plus a -6. But we know we don't really like to write plus and negative, so a better answer and our final answer will be y equals 1/4 x minus 6. Okay, so take a moment, pause the video, do the your turn, then come back and check. All right, so hopefully you notice they gave us the slope, they gave us the y-intercept, so all we had to do for this problem was substitute the values in. Keep in mind though, you know it's not always going to be this simple. They're not always going to give us the exact information we need. We're sometimes going to have to search for it and find it. All right, so moving on to example 2. It says write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line shown in the graph. So now they're giving us a graph and we have to write the equation. So they still want it in slope-intercept form. So that's y equals mx plus b. My m is equal to what? My b is equal to what? So now we have to use our graph. When using the graph, we could pick out 2 points, which they have here for us, and we can use our slope formula. You know, the m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Or we can do it the easier way, and that is to make a triangle out of those 2 points. Okay, so there's my triangle. And then we're just going to compute the rise, which is 4, over the run, which is 2. So my slope is 4 over 2, which is just 2. So great, I have my y equals 2x. Now, one thing I did want to make sure, I went up and I went to the right. Both of those are positive. Also, don't forget, you can't see me do this, but I'm holding my pencil vertical over this graph, and I'm moving it from left to right like we read a book. And you notice my slope is going in the positive direction. It's going up, okay? The only other thing we need to find is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, which is right there, and that is 1, 2, 3 units down. Since that's down, that is -3 or a -3. Okay, so again, pause the video, try the your turn, then come back and check it. All right, so hopefully you ended up getting y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. All right, so we could see the one thing I want you to be careful on for this is it's a negative 1/2 x, because as we're going down, or as we're going left to right, the graph is going down, okay? So that's one thing I hope you notice about that part. Moving on to example 3, it's asking us to graph this equation. So we're going to graph them similarly to the way that we wrote our equations. So if it says y equals 0.5x minus 7, I'm going to actually rewrite that value in front of x as a fraction. So it's going to be y equals 1/2 x minus 7. It's the one-time fractions are a little bit easier to work with. So when we're graphing these, we've learned how to graph using the intercepts, and we've learned how to graph different things in other ways as well. So we're going to learn a new way to graph on top of everything else. Okay, so now that we have the equation in slope-intercept form, and my slope is in fraction form, we are going to graph the equation. So first of all, we have to put our xy axis in here. I could have put that one in the middle. But my y-intercept I see is negative 7, so that means I'm going to need a good bit on my y-axis. So I'm going to put my x-axis up here. Okay, so we start graphing at the y-intercept. Okay, so my y-intercept is negative 7, so I'm going to go down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to put a dot there. Second thing we do is using rise over run. Make another point. All right, so starting down here, my slope is 1/2, so that's up 1 to the right 2 since it's positive. And I keep going, up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. So there's up 1 to the right 2. See how we're making that triangle? Then I could also go down 1 unit, but if I go down, I have to go to the left 2 units. And then we can connect them all with a straight line. Okay. Now part B, we're going to have an extra step, because if you notice, part B is not in slope-intercept form. So we have to write this so that it is in slope-intercept form. So that means I have to solve this for y. So I need to subtract 5x from both sides. So I get 4y equals negative 5x plus 8. Then divide everything by 4. And we get y is negative 5/4 x plus 2. So my slope is negative 5/4, and my y-intercept is positive 2. So again, put your xy axis here. I'm going to do this one right down the middle. All right, so again, we started our y-intercepts. That's positive 2. That's up here. Ignore my dog. And then we have our slope of negative 5/4. So you have to decide where you're putting the negative. If you notice, I always put mine up top. So I'm going to go down 5. So that's 1 unit, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And put another dot. Okay? You don't have to draw those little dots. I'm just drawing them because you can't physically see me counting. And then to get another one, I could go up 4 units, up this way 4, and then back 5, but that's off my graph, so we don't need to. We have at least 2 points, so we can graph our line now. And there's that line. I will say, if I have an equation in standard form, which we learned last chapter, the easiest way to graph this one is generally by the intercepts. All right, so you guys have 2 to do on your own. So please pause the video. And then once you're finished, come back and watch and make sure you got the right answer for each of these. I promise you she's fine. If you can still hear my dog, she's just in her crate because she was tearing stuff up while I was making this. All right, so there's both your turns. Excuse me, please make sure the first one you have positive slope. Your graph is going, so if I had a vertical line and I'm moving across this way, that vertical line, my graph is going up as I move that vertical line across. And for the second one, we have negative slope. So as I move that vertical line over this way, see how my graph is going down, or my line is going down. All right, last 2 examples. We have to write the equation again, but this time there's no graph. They don't tell you what the y-intercept is or the slope is. So it says, write a linear equation in slope-intercept form. Those are key words, because remember, we're going to learn several more forms this chapter to model each situation. So this is a video store charges $10 for a rental card plus $2 per rental. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with renting videos, because you're all probably way too young to remember like Blockbuster and all that stuff, but maybe you've heard of it. So whenever that happened, you would pay like an annual membership, and you would pay that membership one time, but then you had to pay so much every time you rented a movie or a game or anything like that. So this $10 rental card, that's like that one-time fee. But then we have $2 per rental. So if I rent 2 movies, I'm going to pay $2 per rental times 2 movies plus that $10 at one time. Okay, so we're just going to write an equation. That way we would know like our yearly price. So this $2 per rental, that's like my slope, because that's what I'm going to multiply every time. If I buy 3 movies, I'm multiplying that by 2. If I buy 10 movies, that's what's getting multiplied by 2. So that's how you know what your slope is. So this is going to be 2x plus 10. Okay, and that's our equation. Done. All right, now look at this next one, though. This type of terrier weighs 30 pounds, and it's on a diet to lose 2 pounds per month. So if you're losing 2 pounds, that means it's like a negative 2. So if we're losing 2 pounds per month and it weighs 30 pounds, that means this right here is going to be my y-intercept, and the losing 2 pounds is my slope. So we have y equals a negative 2x plus 30. So just to show you why that is the answer if we're, say, on month 3, okay? So x equals 3 months. That means I'm going to do y equals -2 times 3 plus 30. That means I'll have lost 6 pounds, not me. The dog would have lost 6 pounds, meaning its total weight would be 24 pounds. And then that actually would be an ordered pair for us. We could have 3, 24 would be another ordered pair. And we're going to get into graphing that, but we did graph with tables before, so that's just an example of graphing with tables. All right, last your turn. So pause the video, try these two, and then get back to me. Okay, now for this one, be careful because it says the rate is 1.5 feet, but it talked about how tall the tree was in inches, and you need to convert those inches to feet. So I did that here, 1.5 feet. So 1 foot's 12 inches plus half foot's 6. So 12 plus 6 is 18 inches. So I specifically wrote down which one was the M, which one was the B, even though it looks like it makes no difference. But I know you have a question like this on a test or a quiz, and it will make a difference. So please make sure you remember to change those conversions. Okay, last one here. An airplane's at an altitude of 3,000 feet descends, which means it's going down at a rate of 500 feet per mile. They're both in feet. We're good to go. So we're descending 500, so that's -500x plus 3,000. Okay, hopefully you guys got those right. But now you can go back to Schoology, check and see what your practice work is for the night, and get that done.